Hello, glad to have you here. It is Friday, yay. We made it through another week. So glad to have everyone here, and even better, today is cinnamon roll day. So I am going to show you how to make these beautiful cinnamon rolls. These are ones that are getting ready to go into the oven. I made a batch that I now have ready to go into the oven. I made another batch of dough that then I'll be able to work with, and then I'll make a batch of dough and be able to show you all of the things to do with the with making the dough. So yeah, I'm gonna end up with 6 pans like this of cinnamon rolls, but I've already promised them. So Pam and Carlos and Kathy are excited that they're going to be able to take home cinnamon rolls, and Randy is very excited that he's going to have cinnamon rolls too. So we'll have cinnamon rolls for tonight for dessert, and then tomorrow for breakfast. Yeah. So I'll talk as we go. I'll talk about how you can make it to this point and then wait till tomorrow to bake it if you want to, or go ahead and bake them off and then reheat. So there's lots of things you can do. So glad to have everyone here. As you join in, say hello and let us know where you're from. Let us know how excited you are about learning how to make cinnamon rolls. We talked to my stepdaughter, Randy's daughter, yesterday, and she is like just like her dad and loves cinnamon rolls just as much as he does. And then unfortunately this morning she was texting with him and let him know that she didn't have eggs and she didn't have cream, and so she's gonna have to wait to make some. But a little run to the store or place an order for delivery, Lindsay, and you'll be able to make cinnamon rolls too. So today is cinnamon rolls. Next week on Monday we are going to we have a special presentation that we're doing on Studio 512. So join in and watch us there. So that starts at 11, and we'll have probably like a 5-minute segment there, and then a surprise that's part of it too. So that's on Studio 512. That is on the NBC station, so KXAN, and it's Rosie's birthday, and so I'm playing kind of a part in that and doing something special. And so the big reveal will happen there, and then on Monday at 1:00, then our Facebook Live is going to be part of that, and so we'll recreate what I had done for the Studio 512, and it's a fun one. You'll wanna watch. It's cake, and then there's buttercream, there's fondant. We'll talk about all kinds of fun stuff, and then some cupcakes that go with it that are pretty funny. So that's the plan for Monday. And then on Wednesday, we're gonna do black and white cookies. That was a suggestion, and they are one of my absolute favorites. And it's such a New York thing. Let's celebrate New York a little bit and make some black and white cookies. So we'll do that on Wednesday. And then I don't know yet what we're going to do on Friday. So we'll put the recipe for the black and white cookie is actually already on our recipe section, so you can find that. But we'll link it on the classes section as well, and be able to do that. So glad to have you here. Say hello when you join in, and then as we go, if you have any questions, just ask and we'll get them answered and get that taken care of. All right, let's go ahead and start making dough. You'll see that this is a really easy dough to work with, and very nice and soft, and works really well. And then we'll talk about the filling. I already have the fillings made, and then we'll also talk about the glaze and what we'll do for the glaze after that. So there we go. I have those are the ones Randy will put in the oven. So by the time we're done, they'll be coming out and they'll be piping hot and be ready for the glaze. All right, give me just a second to reset this. There we go. It just keeps. Sorry. Well, it was moving up and down like if it could make someone seasick. It was almost that much. All right. So a couple of things. So I have my butter here, and what I did, I melted the butter, and then put the milk in, or the milk heavy cream in this recipe. Put the heavy cream in, and then heated it. And I want this to be about like 110 to 120 degrees. So I'm right there with this. So I'm just gonna leave this to the side so I'm ready to go. And then in my bowl, I'm going to weigh out the flour. And in the instructions, it talks about that the flour is divided. So it's 480 grams that's gonna go into this bowl. And then I have another, 360 grams that goes into this bowl, and then another 120 that goes into this one. And then what that does, that gives me the extra flour to work with and to see if I need it. I want this to be a very soft dough so that they end up being nice and tender, and so that they end up being like really soft cinnamon rolls. So I'm gonna weigh in the 360 grams. So I'm just gonna turn this on, hit unit till I'm on grams, 360 grams. So it's 3 cups of flour. And this is standard all-purpose flour that we're using for this. Yeah, you can move it. It just needs to be taller. All right. Oop. Overshot it here. 369. That's a little too much. There we go. All right, so 360 in there. And then I'm gonna add my yeast in. So let's talk about yeast. No, it needs to be raised. Yeah, look at this. So let's talk about yeast. So the yeast we're using today is instant yeast. And the big difference with that is the size of the grains. So it has, raise this up and lower this. It's just not tight or something. Like, they're so loose. All right, technical difficulties, guys. Sorry. We'll get there. It's fine. You just moved it further away. There. All right. Whew. All right, let's just make dough. All right, so yeah, see, the problem is they're not gonna see like the whole thing. It's so tight in. That's why it needs to be raised. The whole thing needs to be raised. All right, so let's talk yeast. While Randy is adjusting this and we're getting it set, I'm not even gonna be doing anything. I wanna just talk about yeast. So there's really 3 different kinds of yeast. And there's fresh yeast, which is really hard to find. You almost never, ever, ever find fresh yeast. And then there is, come look at this and you can tell. And so you can almost never find fresh yeast. The other thing is active dry yeast. And that's what we're so used to with like the Fleischmann's yeast that's in the little packets. That's the yeast that we're really used to, and that's the one that you find in the grocery store all the time. Move it to the side. We did have this arranged before we started. Move it this way, because it has so much extra space here. All right, let's see. No. There we go. Just leave it there. That'll be fine. All right, 3 different kinds of yeast. There's fresh yeast. it's compressed into a little packet. You almost never ever find that yeast because it's just it's so fresh that it doesn't last for very long, and so it's very hard to find fresh yeast. The other kind of yeast is active dry. That's the one that you find in packets, and that's the one that you get at the grocery store that you can see all the time. That's the most common one that you get at the grocery store. And then there's another kind of yeast, and this is called instant yeast. And so this would also be called like the rapid rise yeast that you would get from the grocery store. That is also an instant yeast. The difference with this, they're all like little single cell microscopic plants. That's what yeast is. They're all that. But what this yeast is very fine grains, and there's a higher number of the microscopic plants in there. And so it's just an easier, faster yeast to work with. So that's why a lot of recipes, especially like professional recipes, will call for instant yeast as opposed to active dry. So instant, at the grocery store, you may not see it as instant yeast. It would be rapid rise. When we get back to being able to find yeast in the grocery store, that's what you would be looking at for this. They're dealt with in two different ways. So instant yeast, you put directly into your dry ingredients. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to add my yeast right in here and then work with it. A lot of times, or all the time, when you use an active dry yeast, you have to put the yeast with your liquid component that's going into your recipe, and basically it kind of blooms it, and then you're able to work with it. You can't just put it straight into your dry ingredients. So they're just dealt with different ways. And so if the recipe specifies it, it just depends, like whether you'll have to read the instructions to know whether your yeast goes into the dry ingredients or whether you are putting your yeast with your liquid ingredients. And then that's going to tell you which kind of yeast it was intended to be. All right, so I have my flour, and I'm just going to hit tare on here and till I'm on 0. There we go. And now it's 7 grams, which is the equivalent of 1 packet of yeast. Here we go. All right. My other dry ingredients that go in here, it's brown sugar. So it's 1/3 cup of brown sugar, and it's just pressed in so that it's compressed in there, and a little tiny bit of salt. So 1/2 teaspoon of salt that goes in. And then I'm going to give this all a stir. Mix this together so my yeast is all throughout, all my sugar is all throughout. There we go. All right. And so then from here, then I'm going to add my wet. And so this is going to be my milk and my heavy cream and my butter. And so that's going to go in here. And that was right at 120 degrees. So it's warm to the touch, but it's not hot. And then my eggs. And so 3 large eggs. And then this all just gets mixed up. All right, you're going to see it's going to be a very soft dough. It's going to still be sticky. That's where the other flour comes in. So I'm going to add some more flour till it's a consistency that I can take it out of the bowl and put it on the table, and then knead and add additional flour if necessary. There we go. That just gets it all mixed in nicely. And now I'm gonna add maybe about half of my flour, because this is a pretty soft dough. Brady's trying to move it again. All right, as soon as I can get it kind of coming away from the sides, see it's still pretty sticky on the sides, then I can take it out and start kneading. I might need all of this flour, because earlier when I made the doughs, I ended up kneading all of this flour and then a little bit of additional flour to knead with. All right, there we go. Now it's not sticking to the sides. I'll be able to scrape the rest of that off. All right. So now I'm gonna take some flour, put it on my table, put a pool of flour here to the side. All right, and now I'm gonna use my bench scraper and scrape my dough. We changed tables, did you notice? So we pulled out the table that's usually behind, because we did some recording for the Studio 512 thing, and we were using this table. So I think that's what has us messed up with the way that this is set up. All right, so I'm gonna just use my bench scraper. I also noticed earlier that this table is quite a bit taller, like 6 inches taller than the regular tables that I've been using, and so when I was kneading earlier, it was a lot more work because I'm not that tall. All right, so I have flour underneath. I'm going to put some flour right over the top, and then I'm going to use my bench scraper, and I'm going to toss it around in the flour. All right, there we go. A little bit more flour on my hands, and then a little bit more flour on the top. And now I'm gonna knead. So this is just like the way we've kneaded all the other doughs that we've made. So I like to rock in twice with the heels of my hand. So just the heels, and I'm using my fingers to kind of pull it back each time. And then after I've done it twice, then I do a quarter turn and turn it in half, and then do it again. And you'll see, anytime it feels sticky on the table or on your hands, you're gonna wanna add some more flour. So in twice, and then that quarter turn. And this is a very soft dough. And it has, it has 3 eggs in it, and it has the butter in it, and it has heavy cream. So it's a pretty high fat concentration in this dough too, which is what makes it taste so good. But that also makes it very soft. And I'm very gentle with it, not really working it too hard, only adding flour when it feels sticky. All right. It's almost time to start smelling cinnamon rolls. Yeah, that's what I was meaning. The ones that are baking. All right, there we go. So what you're looking for, and I'm not working really hard with this, you don't really have to break a sweat with it. What you're looking for is the point where it's not sticky on your hands or on the table, and it will be a very soft and smooth dough. So I am right there with this. All right. Turn it over, and then you can see how nice and smooth it is. You'll just want to keep touching it because it's so smooth. All right, and then take your bowl, kind of scrape out, like if there's a bunch of extra stuff in there, scrape that out. Because that wasn't needed, so I don't want to include that with my dough. And then from there, then I can take this and put a little bit of vegetable spray in it and put my dough in. So I like to put it pretty side down first and then turn it over and then ready to go. So I'm going to take some plastic and put it right over the top. Fight with the plastic here a little bit. You know how that goes, right? All right. That'll keep any drafts away, keep it warmer. And I like to take, for this one, I actually like to take a warm towel and put it right over the top. So put it into, your hot water and put it right over the top and set this to the side, and then it will take about an hour. You want this to just about double in size. There we go. All right, so you saw the dough comes together so easy, right? And now wait till you see how easy it is to roll it out and what we're gonna do with that. Give me just a second to scrape this up. I don't need all of this extra dough here. All right, what's everyone making for the weekend? Any baking plans for this weekend? I still have a pie crust from the tart class on Wednesday, and some coconut cream. Randy's gonna get coconut cream pie or tarts because I have it left over, so may as well use it. All right, there we go. All right, so I have a dough that was made before class here. And so you can see that it is definitely larger than the dough that I just made. And so it's just about doubled in size. It's right at an hour from the time that I made it. So we're good there. And it's just gonna deflate as I am squeezing it. There we go. All right, this amount of dough actually makes 2 pans of cinnamon rolls. And so I want to divide this in half. Get my bench scraper here. All right, I'll put one to the side and then leave this one out to work with. So we're gonna roll this out to about an 8 by 12 inch size. So that is just a little bit larger than a sheet of paper. So it's a little bit longer and not quite as wide. But if you get to a sheet of paper size, that is perfect. So a little bit of flour on here, and then I'm just going to roll this. And you could even just press it out, but I'm just gonna use a small rolling pin. And I always keep moving it around so that I can know that it's not stuck. You don't want it to be stuck. All right. Just kind of stretch it into shape. There we go. Let me move down just a little bit so you can see all of it. All right. So I'm going to check my size. I'm going to put a piece of paper here. So I've got my length. My width is good. So I am fine with this. Just kind of blocking in my edges just a little bit. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my filling in. And so the filling is a combination of butter and brown sugar, flour and cinnamon, and then you have all of your ingredients. So what you do with this, when you're making this, I take the brown sugar, take the flour, mix that together, add your cinnamon in there, and then have your butter in small pieces. And then what you can do is you can use your mixer, like that's what I did here. I was making a 3 times batch. If you're doing it by hand, you could just use like a pastry blender. That would work just fine, or a fork. You want your butter to still be cold, but not just straight from the refrigerator. And I like to still see pieces of butter in here, because then in the cinnamon rolls, the butter melts, and that's what makes kind of that caramelized kind of filling for your cinnamon rolls. So it's just kind of crumbly, and that's what you're looking for. I want to leave about 1 inch on the top. So I'm not going to be putting any filling there, but then I'm gonna put a good amount of filling on the rest of this. There we go. So this, after you make the filling, you want to keep it in the refrigerator, just because you don't want the butter to get so soft. If it was too soft, then it would be just melting in my hands here. So you can see I like a lot of filling. If you wanted to, you could add other things in here. Kind of not traditional, but you could add raisins in here would work. You could add pecan pieces. That would be good. Not for me, but for others. Some people like pecans in their cinnamon rolls. What else would you put in a cinnamon roll, Randy? Anything else? Randy's more the traditional, I think. All right, there we go. So yeah, it's kind of piled up in there. And then I'm going to start rolling. So let me move the camera so that you can see. Let's see if that did it. So the way we have this there, yay. The way we have this rigged up, I can't see the camera from my phone, and I have to wait for it to show on the iPad that's to the side so that I can see whether it's working or not. All right, and I'm just rolling this, and then you can move the camera back. There you go. All right, and see now when it comes to this part, where it's the part that doesn't have the filling on it, I'm just going to be sure to roll right over that so that it attaches on there. And I'm just going to use my fingers, just kind of press that in. I always like to then take my hands, just kind of press in on the ends, and then roll it so that the seam is on the bottom. All right, from here, now we're gonna cut this into 8 pieces. And if I just went boom, 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 and cut 7 slices, they're never going to be even. So the easiest way, because I do want to cut in order. So those of you that have been in class with me before, like with fondant or other things, know that like we usually cut and then cut and then cut and then come back and cut things in half. That's just, that's a little harder to do with the dough like this. So the way I just like to mark it. So I'm gonna just make little slices. So I did it in half, and then each one of those in half. So now I have 4 pieces, and now each one of these in half, and then I will end up with my 8 pieces. And so that's how you can get as close as possible to having them portioned evenly. And so now you just need to use a very, very sharp knife, and you want to be very careful with it. So I'm just slicing. I'm back and forth. Don't just cut straight down. That's not going to keep your nice swirl with it. And look at the swirl. Yay, that looks great with all that filling in there. And you still see the butter in there, so that's gonna melt and be delicious. All right, so when I go to pan these, the one that was the end, that's gonna be the bottom. So no one knows that it was the end one. So they don't feel shortchanged that they had the end one or anything. So just make sure that you turn it so that the filling side is up on your ends. All right, there we go. The filling amount is enough for the 2 pans of the cinnamon rolls, and so you have plenty of filling for them. So these are going to get a second rise. So we're going to put them in the pan, leave them for about another hour till they're puffy again, until they are almost doubled in size. So there we go. They're ready to go. I'm going to get my pan ready. So I'm going to get my vegetable spray. And I know in other classes I've sprayed and buttered. There's enough butter in here already. We don't need spray and butter. All right, there we go. And then I always look for kind of the biggest one around, and then that one goes into the center. And this is an 8-inch pan. So you could use like a pie tin, that would work for it, or use a pan like this, or a regular cake pan would work. And then I always like to put it where it's the seam side. So see how you can still see the seam side? I put that to the inside. That way it's really doughy on the inside here. That's the way Randy likes them.
Center one's the best.
Yeah, the center one's the best, yes. Everyone would fight over the center one. All right, there we go. So I have the pan of cinnamon rolls all ready to go. And these will set to the side. If you're in like a drafty kitchen, you could always put just very loosely a piece of plastic over the top and leave it. If it's not very drafty, then just leave it just like this, and that would be fine too. And so about an hour, and then they go into the oven. All right, there we go. We'll put those to the side. Look, we have some out of the oven. Look at these cinnamon rolls. They're beautiful. So they're nice and soft. They're still going to be very golden, and what you're looking for, you want to make sure that they're done, so you don't want to have raw dough, but you do want to have still doughy dough. And so you still want it to be like that. These we're going to put a glaze on. And so let me get some of the glaze and show you what we'll do with that. And then I want to talk about how you can do this differently if you want to. Like if you wanted to bake these fresh tomorrow morning, I'll talk about how you would be able to do that and save them from there. All right. So our glaze is a combination of powdered sugar and heavy cream, and then vanilla bean paste. I use vanilla bean paste because it gives such a nice, rich flavor to it. Plus, I love seeing the little flecks of vanilla in there. I think it just gives something extra to it. So I'm just going to take some of the glaze and put it on the top. And this is 6 times the recipe, or enough for 6 pans. So it's 3 times the recipe, so it's enough for 6 pans. So I'm not going to use anything like all of this on my cinnamon rolls. So we always used to have a debate making cinnamon rolls in our family, how much, the glaze to use. Like I'm kind of I like a little bit on there, but I like it to be just a very thin layer. But I do like to have it so that it covers every bit. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on. Randy, are you a big glaze person or just a little bit?
I don't like a lot. I like just a little.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like just a little. Just enough. And you can see since they're still warm, it's kind of melting in, and so that's the good part. All right. Randy is sitting here. He has this like smile on his face, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna eat some cinnamon rolls.
Especially if they're warm.
Oh yeah, nothing better than warm cinnamon rolls. So that's why I need to tell you how to bake these in the morning and what you can do with it. So so there we go. I will leave this here for just a second so that you can ooh and ah over them. And let me grab my cinnamon rolls here. So if you were wanting to have these fresh and go into the oven tomorrow morning, what you would do is do your work today. And so make it, have your dough done, get it to this point, and cover this with plastic wrap just loosely, and put this into the refrigerator. And let that stay in the refrigerator overnight. Then tomorrow morning, what you're gonna need to do is take this from the refrigerator about an hour, at least an hour, before they're gonna go into the oven. And so take it out, just leave it on the counter, and then while you're preheating your oven and getting everything else ready for breakfast, leave it out, and then they go into the oven. It's a 375 degree oven, and so it's a little warm. And then they take about 20 to 25 minutes to bake, and so you're looking for that golden color on them, and do that. But that way, what's going to happen in the refrigerator overnight? They will actually rise just a little bit in the refrigerator overnight, and then when they come out of the refrigerator, then they're going to continue rising, and then they'll get additional puff in the oven when they go into the oven. So that's what you're looking for with these. All right, so that's it for cinnamon rolls. So hopefully you saw that they are so much easier than a lot of people think they are. It's not a difficult thing. It's just one of those things that if you can make a dough, you can definitely make cinnamon rolls and be able to have this. So we're gonna try to lift up on this. Let's see how this goes. Nope.
Nope. Hold up.
Still higher.
I know. I'm trying to lose this thing.
There we go. There we go. That works. All right. So cinnamon rolls. This one was a fast one, and Pam is looking in like, oh, can I have cinnamon rolls too? So you probably heard her little giggle. So yes, everyone's looking forward to having some cinnamon rolls. So glad to have you join us for cinnamon rolls and going through this. You try this recipe because you will see they're so easy, and it's a fun thing to be able to have. Not just right now, but think for holiday breakfasts and stuff that you could do with this. And the dough can actually be frozen too. So if you want to get it to the point like where you would put it in the refrigerator, where it's in the pan, go ahead and freeze it. And then you would need to take it out the night before, put it into the refrigerator so that it's going to thaw, and then follow the instructions for that I was just talking about from the fridge. So that's a nice thing to do too, because I know the recipe makes 2 pans, and that might be too much for some people, maybe. So, but maybe you'd share them with someone. So that's a good thing too. All right. So let's see. We were open today So from 10 to noon, and lots of people came in for yeast and flour and boxes and boards and all kinds of stuff for all the projects that they have going on this weekend. So it was nice to see a lot of people coming in. We will continue the 10 to noon. We're actually here till 2, so if you're running late and can't get here, right at noon, no worries. Just come whenever you can until 2 o'clock, and then from there, then would be able to get things for you. You can order by going to mail at makeitsweet.com, so you can email us information, or you can go online to our website, makeitsweet.com. We don't have everything on our website, and certainly not all the things like the flours and yeast and things like that we've added. But we have bread flour and cake flour and all-purpose flour and whole wheat flour. So we have all of those. We have yeast. We have instant yeast. We don't have active dry yeast anymore. We can't find it in big containers. We can't find it in any container. So that's not something that we have. But we do have instant yeast, so you can do that. When you are substituting, it's the same amount, so it's 1 for 1 with yeast. And then the only difference is that the instant yeast is gonna work just a little bit faster. And so your mixing method is different. Make sure that your yeast with instant yeast goes in with your dry ingredients, and then mix everything together. So it's actually a little bit faster, kind of using an instant yeast rather than an active dry yeast. And then from there, let's see. We were busy today. It was a fun day. Everyone's wearing masks other than when I get to do this. We're back here. I'm back here without a mask, but out in the store, everyone's wearing masks, and everyone that comes in, we are really grateful for how respectful everyone is coming in. There were a couple of times today where we had so many people we had to lock the door and we weren't letting anyone else in. So we had a line outside. So that was kind of fun to see. And we have gloves out front and hand sanitizer. And so people were able to use that, and that way we can keep everyone safe. So that's the important part. We keep you safe, you keep us safe, and for the ones that are here. So glad to have customers coming in and being able to see everyone. And then for the Facebook Lives for next week, for Monday, it's going to be the special surprise one. So tune in to KXAN Studio 512 at 11 o'clock. I don't know when my segment is going to air, but it'll be on there sometime, and it's a fun and funny one. And then there's a surprise reveal that'll end up happening with that. So check that out, and then you'll be able to see what our Facebook Live is going to be on Monday, and so that'll be a fun one on Monday at 1 o'clock. And then on Wednesday we're going to do black and white cookies. And then Friday, give me some ideas. What do you want to see? So give me some ideas, and we'll go from there on Friday, and we'll go from there. I was talking to Magda yesterday. She had suggested English muffins, so I'll just throw that out there if anyone wants to tune in for English muffins. Maybe we make the breakfast things on Fridays always, because then you can do it for the weekend. So that's a fun thing to do. There is, if you print out or look at the recipe that's online for the cinnamon rolls, if you look on the other side or on the page 2, there is a great recipe for a cheese-filled braided bread, and I will do that one of these days, because that one is a really great recipe, and you can do that in a savory or a sweet version. And so I'll make 2 doughs and show you what we can do with that. And it looks so much more complicated for braiding than what it really is. And so that's the fun thing with that. But in the meantime, if you want to try that and let me know what you think of the recipes, let me know. And then definitely make cinnamon rolls for the weekend. You're going to be sad if you don't. So thank you so much for joining us for cinnamon rolls today. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great weekend. Everyone be safe and take care of yourselves, and treat yourselves to make something a little sweet this weekend. All right, take care. Bye.